Hello students and welcome to the lecture. So students, as we know that we are covering the scheduled and the tribal areas, right? That is a topic on which we have been discussing right now. Okay. And within this particular series of the scheduled and the tribal areas, within this particular series of the scheduled and the tribal areas, these all are the topics that we had scheduled for the discussion, like the introduction part, scheduled areas in India and overview of it, like the criteria for the identification of the scheduled areas, then the constitutional provisions and the governance, then the concerns related to the scheduled areas, then administration of the scheduled areas, then the scheduled tribes, then general concerns of the tribal community, then addressing the challenges, then the significance of the indigenous communities, okay, then the problems that are being faced by the tribal groups, then conclusion, and last is the administration of the tribal areas. Okay, so these are the topics that we have scheduled for the discussion. If we talk about the topics that we have covered so far, we have done with the introduction part, we have done with the scheduled areas in India, an overview, we have done with the criteria for identification of scheduled areas, then the constitutional provisions and the governance, then the concerns that are related to the scheduled areas, then the administration of the scheduled areas. Okay, so these are the topics that we have covered so far. If we talk about the topic on which we have been discussing, so this is the scheduled tribes topic. Okay, and the topics that we are left with, these are the general concerns of the tribal community. Okay, then addressing the challenges, then significance of the indigenous communities, then the problems that are being faced by the tribal groups, then the conclusion, then the administration of the tribal areas. Okay, so this is the picture that we have created so far altogether. Basically, in this lecture, we will start from where we had left in the previous one. Okay, so let's start. So basically, in the previous lecture, we had started the discussion over the scheduled tribe. That is the topic of the schedule and the tribal areas, right? That is the topic of this. And basically, within this area, we had discussed about the scheduled tribes in India that we have. Okay, and basically, we discussed that there is an Article 342 of the Indian Constitution. This article basically empowers the President of India, to specify any tribe or any tribal communities to be the part of scheduled tribes. Okay, that's what we have discussed. And we had discussed the word scheduled in itself basically carries a special attention. So basically the tribes that are recognized or that are declared as an scheduled tribe by the President of India, these tribes are generally the historically disadvantaged groups, right? Historically disadvantaged groups, okay? And these requires the special protection and the assistance so that their socio-economic development could be ensured. Their socio-economic development could be ensured because in these two fields, these tribes were neglected a lot. Okay, this is the thing that we had discussed in the previous lecture. Even with this thing, we had discussed one more thing, the difference between the scheduled area and the tribal areas. Okay, scheduled areas and the tribal areas. Like scheduled area is the designation that we give to any area, okay, that is containing the tribal population. Okay, and there are more than one tribes. Tribal area could be in any area that having the tribal population. Doesn't matter whether the tribes that are living there scheduled or not. Okay. Scheduled tribes are those tribes which are historically disadvantaged. Okay. And the survival of those tribes basically requires a special protection and assessment. Why? Because their socio-economic condition is worst. Okay. But the general tribes are the tribes that are not so much disadvantaged, whose are in the mainstream, and the socio-economic development could be ensured normally. All right. So that is the thing that we had discussed. Thereafter, we had discussed that the population growth factor under the scheduled tribes. Okay. And what we had seen here, we have seen since the independence, the tribal population in India is been on the increasing, or you can say it's been on increase census by census. It means one data in one census is getting changed in the another census. Okay, that is the main thing. And if we talk about this particular increase, then it could be attributed to the various factors like the improvement in the healthcare, better access to the education, and overall population growth trends in the country. Okay, so we can say like the healthcare, the tribals that are living in the forest since starting, these are now getting the healthcare facilities. Okay, right? Access to the education, basically the tribals that are living in the forest areas, they were lacking the education facilities also. All right, and other kind of civic and the basic amenities also. So basically when we tried to indulge them into the mainstream, that was our main aim behind giving the special protection, assistance and all. So basically we ensure that they must have the access to the healthcare, they must have the education, so that their population could be rise, as well as the old age people and the vulnerable age people that are living in these tribes, that could be lived along. So that's how the population is on the rise. And also we have seen that the not only the tribal population, but the general population of the country is also growing. Okay, and that is also having the relevancy with the scheduled tribes, right? And basically we have discussed the influencing factors like the internal migration. We have discussed about it. Okay, we have discussed about the tribal identity, and we have also discussed about the improved data collection methods. Okay, these three factors basically we had discussed. All right, now if we move forward, so basically we are going to talk about the current tribal population. Okay, if we talk about the current situation of the tribal population, so we can say as of the recent estimates, if we talk about the tribal population in India, then it is approaching nearly about the 9% of the total population of the country. Okay, so we can say if the total population of the country is the 100%, out of this 100%, 9% population is the population of tribal people. All right, and when we talk about this 9% in the normal terms, then how much population is living in this country? That is what we had already discussed, but this time it is also a question or revision also. To answer this, you will have 30 seconds. Time starts now. Just think about it. 10 seconds have been passed, last 20s are remaining. Last 10 seconds are there. Okay, the time's up. So the general population is 104 million. Okay, 104 million people are the people who are the tribals. Okay, and that data touches nearly 8.06% to 9%. Here you can see the word around, that is also signifies the word approx. Okay, so approx population is 9% or 8.06%. Okay, and we can say basically this data, this figure or this data may be slightly depending on the data source and the methodology used for the estimation. So basically we know in India, the data that we had derived for estimation of scheduled tribe population and the population percentage, that is generally comes from the demographic profile of the country. Okay, and this demographic profile is generally come from the one thing that is what we call the census. Okay, the census is activity of collection of data that required to create a demographic profile of the country. Okay, so basically in India, not only the government is the one which is collecting the data. Okay, what I'm saying, not only the government is the one that is collecting the data, various non-governmental organizations, what we call as NGO, non-governmental organizations, various firms and all, private firms you can say, these are also collecting the data. So might be when you search it on the Google, so the Google tries to show you, or you can say if you search it on any authenticated search engine. Okay, authenticated search engine means valid search engine. Please do not try to search it on the dark web. Okay, otherwise what tribal population you will see and what will happen to you by the government authorities, that will be only known by. Okay, so that's the thing. So if you search it on any authenticated search engine, okay, then that particular search engine will try to show you a result as per the census of India or as per the government organization data. Okay, because it is believed that it's the most accurate data. But what I'm saying, that is belief, that is not the accuracy or not the universal or eternal truth, that is believed only. Okay, but if you try to study it further, it means suppose you open your browser, you search for it, then you get the results from the search engine. Then if you try to study the different results that you are getting on the screen right now, what you will notice, that this data will be varied. Not much. It means if 9% is written down here, that would not be a 90%. That would be a 9% to 10% or 9.6%, 0.8, 8.04%, 8.06%. That much of variety could be there. Okay, not the excessive variety. Okay, the reason behind this variety, what is the reason behind this? You can say varyingness. It is basically the data source from where the data has been collected. Secondly is the methodology that was used for the estimation. Okay, so if we talk about this particular case, so basically there are the two type of data. There are two type of data. Okay, what is the type of data? To answer this, you will have 30 seconds to think and answer, then I will give you the answer. Okay, your time starts now. Just think about it. These are the most basic things you can say, so you must be aware about it. Okay, 10 seconds have been passed, last 20s are remaining. Please do not Google it. That would be good for you only. Last 10 seconds. Time is going to be up. All right, the time's up. Basically, the data is of the two types, the primary data and the secondary data. Okay, that is totally depend upon the source from where it was collected. If we talk about the definition, the primary data is the data that has been collected for the first time, okay, from the root source. Okay, secondary data by definition is the data that was already collected and that was just carry forward. Okay, for example, let me give an example. Suppose you are in your college or you are in your school. So if you are in your college, in your school, then you must be aware about like different kind of projects, assignments we got, different kind of things we got. All right, so basically the projects and assignments that we got, okay, Some of the projects are like some case study, right? So now assume yourself in a school or college and you have received a project. You are required to make a project on the case study, okay, about the, you can say, review of any product. For example, the product is noodles, Maggi, okay. The question is that you are required to know the opinion of the people regarding the Maggi that they are consuming, and you are required to fill the reviews, okay. So after getting the project, when you started working on it, so what you did, you started going people to people. You asked them whether they used Maggi, yes or no. If they say no, then you left them. If they say yes, then you asked like how was their experience with the Maggi? Are they satisfied with the quality? Are they satisfied with the price they are paying? Any kind of issue they are having, and other aspects also. Okay. Then you interviewed total 10 people, for example, and you reported their feedback. Okay. So the feedback that you had gathered, that is the data. All right. The second method that you applied here, what you did, once you got the project, you started searching it online. And then you received an interview that was conducted by some party, or you can say some organization, regarding the review of the Maggi. You just copy paste the reviews and the feedback from there and you paste it in the file. So what you technically did, you just copy the data from one source to your source. Okay. So now just bifurcate this method as the primary and the secondary. If we go by the definition, what was the definition? The primary data is the data that has been collected from the grass or from the root source and for the first time. So in the first method, when you go to the people are the root source. Okay, they are the source. Okay, because you were required to know the opinion and you are directly going towards them. You are directly going and asking from them. Okay, and then you fill the data by yourself. Then it would be a primary data. Why? Because it was collected for the first time. That was not available already. In the second method, instead of go to the people and ask the review, what you did, you just copied paste from the other website and other party. Okay. In such a method, that is the secondary data. Why? Because first you haven't collected it from the grassroots source. You never gone to the public. Second, the data you had just copy paste, the data was already existed. Okay. So that is the thing. That is also applicable in the tribal population. Okay. Like you can say, if the census is conducted primarily, then basically there are chances like the data that would be collected, it will be a more authenticated. Why? Because that has been in the collection from the grassroots level. Okay, from the visiting of actual sites of the tribal where they are living in and other kind of things. Okay, but if the data was a secondary data or has been collected from the already existed data, then it could be a varied or wrong. Why? Because suppose if the census was happened in 2011, since 2011 and 2024, how many years are there? Almost 14 years. In this 14 years, there could be anything. Might be the population rised, might be the population fall. But if you try to copy the data from the 2011 census, then what you will get? You will get the wrong data. Okay, that would not be inaccurate because it is hard that the population that was in the year of 2011 that would be the same in the year of 2024. This is quite impossible. Okay, so the first thing is clear how the data source is important in the authentication of the current tribal population. Second is the methodology used for the estimation. Basically, there are various kind of methodology that we use for the data collection. And each and every methodology, each and every technique that we use when we have to collect the data, that may gives us different result. Okay, so on the basis of this, the thing will be different. The exact tribal population count is subjected to the periodic updates based on the census and the surveys. Okay, It means that if we want to keep a current and accurate record of the tribal population, then that could be only ensured through the periodic updates. Through the periodic updates, right? Thereafter, the census data and the surveys. These are the tools. Okay, these are the tools that give us the periodic updates regarding the things. Got it? So that was a thing that I had explained. Thereafter, if we talk about the factors that generally influencing the tribal growth. Okay, if we talk about that, then the first factor is the healthcare. Healthcare is not only important for the tribals, but also important for anyone. Okay, from any segment of the population. But because here, if we talk about it, then why? Because we are discussing about the schedule and the tribals. So that is the reason we will only talk about the schedule and the tribal areas in reference of it. Okay. So first is the factor of the healthcare. Okay. So the improved healthcare facilities and awareness basically contributed decline in the mortality rates. Okay. Mortality rates among tribal population leading to the population growth. Okay. So if we talk about this word like the mortality rates, okay. So you have heard about the two terms, mortality rates and the infant mortality rates. What is the difference between these two? This is the question for you. What is the difference between the mortality rates and the infant mortality rates? To answer this question, you will have 30 seconds to think and answer. Time starts now. Okay, the time's up. So basically, okay, your time starts now, not time's up. Your time starts now. 30 seconds you have to think and answer. Then I will give you the answer. Again, I'm repeating the question for you. What is the difference between the mortality rates and the tribal mortality rates? Sorry, infant mortality rates. 10 seconds have been passed. Last 20s are remaining. Just think about it. Do not try to Google it. Okay. All right. The last 10 seconds are there to think and answer. Then I will give you the answer. All right. Time's up. So if we talk about the mortality rates, then it is the percentage, or you can say the number of people who got died because of the defined cause. What I'm saying, mortality rates is the number of the people who have been died because of the defined cause. Okay. Infant mortality rates is the number of children that have been died because of the defined cause. That is the only difference. Mortality rates we use for the general population. Infant mortality rates we usually use for the, you can say, the children's and the mothers that gave the birth. Okay. So basically the improved healthcare facilities and the awareness generally protect the cases of mortality and basically shows us the decline. Because of this, when the death rate is come and the birth rate is constant, automatically the population will grow. Second factor is the factor of the education. Like the increased access to the education led us to the better awareness about the family planning, reproductive health, and the population growth contribution. Okay. Like when the students go to the school and colleges, basically they understand the meaning of the family planning. What is the importance? What importance they could got socially or economically, these kind of things they get. Reproductive health, it means that how they could protect themselves, how they could protect their reproductive health, so that in future they will have no consequences to reproduce their offsprings. Okay. So these two things are also, or you can say this education also contributed to the population growth. Okay, and that is not only for the tribals but also general. But again, I will say that we are talking about the tribals, so we will discuss about it in this tribal way. Okay, so here I would ask you another question, like if we're talking about the tribals, and we know we had discussed the aboriginal concept from the Australian continent. Okay, so there I had asked you the question. Okay, like what is the capital of, you can say, what is the capital of Australia, and then we came to know about the capital is, you can say, Canberra. Okay, now I'm going to ask you another question, that the world's safest city is Copenhagen. Again, I'm repeating, world's safest city is the Copenhagen. You are required to tell Copenhagen is the capital of which country. Again, I'm repeating, world's safest city is the Copenhagen. You are required to tell which country's capital is this. To answer this question, 30 seconds you guys will have to think and answer, and your time starts now. 10 seconds have been passed off, last 20s are remaining. Last 10 seconds are there to think and answer. Okay, the time's up. Correct answer is Denmark. Denmark is the place, okay, or is the country which capital is Copenhagen, and it is the safest country in the safest city in the world. Okay, that is first thing. After this, the infrastructure. Okay, the infrastructure development, if we talk about it, then we can say the improved infrastructure in the tribal areas led to the better access to the healthcare, education, basic amenities, contributing to the population growth. Last is the migration. Some tribal population experience the migration to the urban areas for the search of better opportunities, and that is also shows the growth trends in the tribal areas that are moving towards the urban areas. Okay, so these are the things. So students, basically in this lecture we have finished till here. In the next lecture we will continue from here. Till then, revise the facts and figures that all we have discussed in this lecture. Be ready for the another lecture. With this note, let's end this lecture, and what we say thank you.